Hi, come back on YouTube channel, please subscribe. 2024 could be the year that Donald Trump will either be president or in prison. In true Trump style, the former president is a complex of contradictions and extremes. Donald Trump has hit the campaign trail with vigor ahead of next year's election, speaking with media outlets to get his campaign message out, at the same time as proclaiming his innocence in light of the indictments. He's currently facing Sky News All-Stars Megyn Kelly, Mick Mulvaney and James Morrow take a deep dive into the circus surrounding Donald Trump and ask, will he be president or in prison in 2024? Music. Trump's mugshots sent shockwaves around the world. All of a sudden, the idea that a former president could go to prison seemed very real to everyone except himself, says Sky News All-Star Megyn Kelly. What was your sense about the reality of his concern that, yeah, there's a chance he's going to go to jail? Did you get a sense that he has actually spent a couple of sleepless nights thinking about what might be his future? I'm concerned he's not getting it. I'm concerned he's not getting it at all. I mean, there is a very decent chance he is going to go to jail. He shouldn't, but there, look, given the juries he's facing and the judges he's facing and the charges on the one thing I really zeroed in on, he's very likely to be convicted of obstruction. I mean, that's the one I think he's most vulnerable on. I don't think he totally appreciates what they're about to do to him. Megyn Kelly also says it's vital for Donald Trump or another Republican to win the next election and become president so he can be pardoned and avoid jail. He needs to win, he needs to win so that he can pardon himself or pull the DOJ off of those two federal cases, and if he doesn't win, he needs another Republican to win. So I do think he should spend more time reflecting on it. Maybe he just doesn't operate that way because it's better to compartmentalize without thinking like that. Despite Trump's attempt to maintain his innocence, Megyn Kelly says the former president is in danger because he did not handle classified documents well. So this is the problem for Trump, Paul. He's in danger. He didn't handle the documents well. That's not to excuse this prosecution because they didn't go after Hillary and they shouldn't be doing it to Trump, but he does have some answers to give on these very tricky issues, and so far they're not there. But in true Trump form, he refuses to be affected by the indictment drama and is focusing on his march to the White House, says Megyn Kelly. His message overall yesterday was, or today, whatever it was, I was pessimistic in a way that I think will resonate with frustrated GOP voters. That he actually said, I don't think the country survives if I don't win this next election. I mean, it was dark, but I think he's not the only one who feels that way. And if you zoom out and look at the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI and the crazy overreach by our public health agencies and the White House trying to censor speech contrary to the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights at every turn, just to name a few, men trying to claim they're women and come into our spaces. And we have the President United States backing that up, and it feels dystopian. So Trump is actually a very good messenger for that angst a lot of us are feeling, of like, what the hell happened to our country? And he has some very powerful allies backing him, and I can tell you from personal experience, Donald Trump has never been anything but loyal and incredible and an amazing friend to me. Do you think he can become president again? I do. I mean, people thought he couldn't become president the first time, and he did. I absolutely think he could do it again. Listen, the forces are fighting against him. They're trying to do everything they can to make sure that this guy does not even have a chance to be elected again. But yes, I mean, a majority of the country wants this guy to be the next President of the United States. Despite the stress of Mount indictments, Donald Trump is laser-focused on beating Joe Biden, slamming him in an interview with Meet the Press. He said he was at the World Trade Center and he wasn't. He said he flew airplanes, right? He didn't. He said he drove trucks and he didn't. Everything he says is like a lie. It's terrible, Mr. President. Even his handicapped. He said he's a 6. He's not a 6. I want to stay focused on you for the purposes of this interview, okay? Because it's important that we hear from you about all of this. Well, I'd like you to, but you keep interrupting me. Sky News contributor Joe Syracuse says Trump presented himself well in the interview and showed he doesn't have a problem with age, unlike his opponent Joe Biden. No, he's not worried about it. So, I saw the interview. I didn't like it. Was more like a police interview. Really, I mean it was very antagonistic. You know, Pete, while the interview is going on, he's saying that he made the call on the election, which is his call. After all, the honors poll came out that said that the president and former president and Biden are in a dead heat for 2024. They have 39 each and they got 10% that are undecided, and that the president is now, with all this, he's still a former president. Trump is politically viable. I mean, the man just keeps going from sprints to strength despite all the opposition and the adverse kind of interviewing in Washington. I think he was very brave to go on the Meet the Press because he knew that they weren't going to ask him really nice questions and she was just trying to trap them, that kind of thing. But I think he handled himself pretty well. He showed that he doesn't have a problem, Pete, with age, and he's pretty confident. I'm sort of impressed with his ability to sort of dance around those questions. What's he going to do with Taiwan? What's he going to do with Ukraine? How does he feel about Putin? You know, he was very coy about it, and he was very clever as a matter of fact, so I think he did very well. But Trump's enthusiastic campaigning will realistically be disrupted by his several court cases, says Sky News all-star Mick Mulvaney. If the prosecution is right, this is going to take 4 months. What that means is Donald Trump is going to effectively be off the campaign trail for 4 months, which is what a lot of Republicans listen. I'm a critic of the president. Sometimes I'm a supporter of the president. Sometimes that's my job as the chief of staff. But I got to tell you, this looks more and more political. Keep in mind there's another case going forward that's going to start on the day before Super Tuesday, which is a big primary date. If you were trying to make the case the Democrats are politicizing this process, there's plenty of evidence to that end. And one of them is the fact they think this is going to take 4 months. So, look, the president has done former president has done a pretty good job of convincing people there's political motivation here, and he's probably not wrong. Might he have done something wrong? I think that's possible. But is this motivated? Is this politically motivated? I think there's a growing body of evidence that absolutely is, and the media isn't helping Trump's efforts with the mainstream media protecting Joe Biden. Donald Trump has been forced to seek alternative outlets, like his interview with Tucker Carlson on X. But look, I will say this about Trump. He had the stones to come on with me. He knew I wasn't going to go softball on him. He knew I was going to ask him hard questions, and he still sat with me, and not just sat with me. Originally he agreed to 45 minutes. He let it go for an hour and 20. Like he could have easily. His team was like, okay, wrap, and he was like, no, we're good. And so contrast that with President Biden, you know, President Basement, who still won't talk to anybody, and not that there's a reporter out there who's willing to ask him tough questions, Paul, but the press lets him get away with his complete camouflage routine where he's just we never get to see the real him, because nobody ever puts tough questions To him, Trump is out there talking about his criminal indictments, and Donald Trump supporters don't seem to be fazed by his legal woes, with a new poll confirming a lead over struggling Joe Biden if he can stay out of jail. And finally, to the United States, a very good poll for Donald Trump. Of course, it looks like we're on our way towards a rematch between Trump and Biden in 2024. Even if Joe Biden can't talk and Donald Trump mightn't be able to get out of jail. But latest opinion poll from CBS. Again, not a far right-wing television station, but one of the ones that likes to weight things well and truly in the president's favor, not the former president's favor. Currently Trump winning 50-49. If you still think there are things like quiet Trump voters, well, that could end up being quite the victory, and one of the biggest things that is driving people away from Biden and even to the imperfect candidate that is Trump. Compared to the pandemic, how do you feel? Financially, 20 better off, 45 worse off, 35 about the same. Of the bigger section, they're 45 if so. They're financially worse off, 71%. Of them plan to vote for Trump.